Hi everyone, today we're making one of the most nostalgic treats from my childhood, walnut cookies filled with creamy caramel. The shell is buttery and tender, and the filling is rich and sweet. It's impossible to eat just one. This cookie is very popular in Eastern Europe and people fill it with all kinds of creams, but today I will show you the classic version. So let's get started. Let's start with the dough. In a large mixing bowl, add 200 grams of soft butter, then add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 200 grams of sugar, and just a pinch of salt to balance the sweetness. Now beat it all together until the mixture becomes light and fluffy. This will take a few minutes, so don't rush it. The better you cream the butter and sugar, the more tender your cookies will be. You can use a hand mixer or stand mixer for this part. Also, just a quick note. In this video, I'm actually making a double batch because these cookies disappear so fast in my house. So if you're only making one batch, don't worry, I will include both versions of the recipe in the video description. Once the butter and sugar are nicely creamed, it's time to add the eggs. Use 2 eggs and add them one at a time, mixing well after each one. This helps the dough stay smooth and prevents it from separating. Take your time here. You want the mixture to stay silky and uniform. As you're mixing, you will start to notice how glossy and smooth the dough base becomes. This is exactly what we want before adding the dry ingredients. Now add 1 teaspoon of baking powder and then gradually sift in 400 grams of all-purpose flour directly into the wet mixture. Adding the flour little by little helps keep the dough light and airy, and sifting removes any lumps, so don't skip this step. Start mixing with a hand or stand mixer. As the dough starts to thicken and the mixer begins to struggle a bit, switch to a spatula or wooden spoon. And once it becomes too thick to stir, go in with your hands. This part is actually really satisfying. You will feel the dough slowly come together. It should be soft, smooth, and slightly pliable, but not over sticky. If your kitchen is warm and the butter feels extra soft, that's okay. Just chill the dough a little longer before shaping. If it still feels sticky at this stage, you can add a small sprinkle of flour, just a little at a time. It's better to go slow here. Adding too much can make the cookies dry and crumbly, and we want them to stay tender and buttery. The ideal dough should hold its shape when pressed but still feel light to the touch. That's how you know it's ready to rest. Once the dough is ready, wrap it in plastic wrap and place it in the refrigerator for at least 30 minutes. Chilling the dough makes it easier to work with and helps the cookies hold their shape during baking. After the dough has chilled, take it out and divide it into small pieces. I usually go with about 6 grams per shell. It doesn't have to be exact, but keeping them all the same size helps the cookies bake evenly, prevents mess, and makes them look nice and uniform when we sandwich them later. I like to use a kitchen scale for this step. It just makes the process easier and more consistent. Roll each piece into a small bowl and place it on a plate or cutting board. This part can take a little while, so it's the perfect time to put on a favorite show or movie in the background and just relax while you work. Once all the dough is rolled into balls, it's time to bake. For this step, you will need a special walnut mold. I will leave a link for it in the video description. Now we need to preheat the walnut mold on each side over medium heat. Technically, these molds are made for gas stoves, but I've been using mine on an electric stove with no problems. Just a heads up, it does get very smoky because of all the butter in the dough, so make sure to open a few windows or turn on the vent. To check if the mold is hot enough, I like to sprinkle a tiny bit of water inside. If it evaporates immediately, it's good to go. Now place the dough balls into the mold, close it and press it firmly. The dough will spread and take on that perfect walnut shape as it cooks. Hold the molds close until you feel a slight pushback. That's a little sign it's time to let it go. Cook the cookies for about 3 minutes on each side, but keep a close eye. The timing can vary depending on your stove. What you're looking for is a nice golden color. As you can see, my electric stove gets super smoky, so I keep a towel nearby to wipe down the molds between batches. It helps reduce the smoke and keeps everything a little cleaner. Once they're done, Open the mold and gently remove the shells. They should drop right out. If not, just use a fork to carefully lift them. Now you've got beautiful golden little cookie shells that are just waiting to be filled with something sweet. Repeat the same process with the rest of the dough, and soon you will have a bowl full of these cute walnut halves. Now you can go through each cookie shell and clean up the edges to make the halves look neat and even. Just trim off any excess with a small knife or gently rub the edges. This step is optional, but it does make a difference if you want a polished look. Now it's time to fill them. I'm using boiled sweetened condensed milk or caramel. You will need about 500 to 550 grams total. Once the shells are completely cool, take one half and add a small spoonful of caramel right in the center. Don't overfill, just enough to reach the edges when pressed together. Then for a little crunch and flavor, I like to add half of a walnut on one side before gently sandwiching it with the other half. Give it a light press to seal. You will see the caramel peek out just a bit, and that's exactly what we want. If you want to get them extra perfect, you can use a fine grater to smooth out the edges after assembling. It gives them a clean bakery style finish. Keep going until all the cookies are filled, and that's it. You've just made classic European Eastern walnut cookies filled with creamy caramel. They stir really well, so they are great for making ahead, sharing with friends, or even giving as a thoughtful homemade gift. Thanks for baking with me today. If you enjoyed this recipe, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check the description below for the full written recipe and extra tips. See you in the next video.